You're living your life in a cage. There are no steel bars, no visible lock, but you feel trapped. These bars are invisible, forged from your own anxieties and fears. They're the what-ifs, the I can't, and the I'm not good enough. They're why you don't raise your hand in the meeting, start that business, or ask that person out. It's a quiet, comfortable prison, but it's a prison nonetheless. What if I told you that you don't need a key to escape? In fact, looking for a key is the very thing that keeps you locked inside. The belief that one day, magically, the fear will just vanish and you'll be free to act. That's the ultimate illusion. The secret isn't finding an escape route. The secret is realizing the bars were never solid to begin with. What if the only way out is through? In this video, we're going to walk this path together. First, we'll uncover the invisible bars of the cage that hold you back and understand why they feel so powerful. Then, I'll give you a practical, step-by-step method to start walking right through them. And finally, we'll explore how to forge a new identity, one where facing your fears becomes your default setting, making you truly unstoppable. Let's begin by turning on the lights and getting a good, hard look at that cage. It's a masterpiece of architecture, built over years. Each bar represents a specific fear, polished to a shine by repetition and avoidance. One bar might be the fear of failure. It whispers, "Don't even try." The humiliation will be too much, so the business plan stays in the drawer. The manuscript remains unfinished. You protect yourself from the imagined pain of failure, but in doing so, you guarantee you'll never feel the thrill of success. Another bar is the fear of judgment. This one is sneaky. It's the fear of what they will think. Your colleagues, your friends, strangers on the internet. This fear turns you into a chameleon, constantly changing your colors to blend in, terrified of the whispers that might come from daring to be different. Then there's the fear of rejection. That ache of not being chosen. This fear stops us from saying, "I love you" first, from asking for the promotion, from extending a hand of friendship. We build walls around our hearts, forgetting that those same walls also keep out the possibility of a resounding yes. And perhaps the most foundational bar of all, the fear of the unknown. The known misery feels safer than the unknown possibility. Your brain would rather you suffer in a familiar way than risk the uncertainty that comes with change. Do any of these bars sound familiar? Most of us are gripping several at once. We spend our lives waiting for them to dissolve, but that's a fundamental misunderstanding of how fear works. To understand why these bars feel so solid, we have to look under the hood at our own biology. Fear isn't a psychological flaw. It's a biological legacy. Deep inside your brain is a small, almond-shaped thing called the amygdala. For our ancestors, this primal alarm system was a lifesaver. When a saber-toothed tiger showed up, it flooded the body with adrenaline to prepare it to either fight or flee. The problem? Your amygdala can't tell the difference between a tiger and a tough conversation. The threat of social humiliation can feel as life-threatening as a tiger in the grass. The bodily response is identical. Racing heart, sweaty palms, shallow breathing. It's a biological mismatch. Your brain is screaming, "Danger," when all you're really facing is an opportunity for growth. Recognizing this is the first step to freedom. Your fear is not a prophecy. It's a biological echo from a time long past. This brings us to a dangerous myth we've been sold. The idea that the goal is to become fearless. Let me be crystal clear. Fearlessness is a myth. It doesn't exist. And if it did, it would be incredibly dangerous. Fear, in the right context, keeps you alive. A complete absence of fear isn't courage. It's a sign of a serious neurological problem. The goal isn't to eliminate fear. The goal is to change your relationship with it. Mark Twain said it perfectly. Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. Courage and fear aren't opposites. They're dance partners. Courage is deciding to act while you're afraid. It's feeling the tremor in your hands and making the call anyway. Bravery isn't about not feeling afraid. It's about deciding that something else is more important. So the new goal isn't to be fearless. The new goal is to get good at being afraid. To learn to welcome that feeling as a sign you're on the right track. This is the fundamental mindset shift. So how do you actually do that? How do you move from understanding fear to conquering it? That brings us to our method. The first step is to move from being a victim of your fear to being a scientist of your fear. First, you must name your fear with radical specificity. I'm scared of failing isn't helpful. It's too big and blurry. Get precise. Don't write, I'm afraid of public speaking. Write, I'm afraid that when I give the presentation on Tuesday, my mind will go blank, my colleagues will see me sweating, and they'll think I'm incompetent. Don't write, I'm afraid of rejection. Write, I'm afraid to ask my boss for a raise because she might say no, and I'll feel humiliated. When you drag the monster into the light, it becomes a concrete problem you can start to solve. Now that you've named it, interrogate it. Ask yourself these questions. 1. What's the evidence for this thought, and what's the evidence against it? 2. What's the absolute worst-case scenario? Spell it out. 3. Now, what's the realistic probability of that happening? Your anxious brain is a terrible statistician. The Roman philosopher Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." He was right. 4. If the worst did happen, could I handle it? When you make a plan for the disaster, you realize even the worst outcome is survivable. 5. What's the best-case scenario? Spend equal time envisioning success. 6. And finally, what's the cost of inaction? Often, the slow pain of regret is far worse than the sharp, temporary pain of facing your fear. Now that we've dragged your fear into the light, there's one more piece to this first step, and it might be the most uncomfortable. The next time you feel that wave of anxiety, just stop. Don't run. Be still. Close your eyes and turn your attention inward. I want you to feel the fear fully, but as a neutral observer. Notice your heart rate. Notice your breathing. Do a full body scan. Your only job is to observe these sensations without judgment. They are just physical sensations, energy. The goal is to prove to your nervous system that these feelings themselves aren't dangerous. Uncomfortable? Yes. But they can't harm you. You've just learned to map the terrain of your fear. But you can't win a battle with just a map. It's time to move. So, if you're ready to go from observing your fear to walking straight through it, hit that subscribe button. Because next, we're going to learn how to alchemize that raw energy into unstoppable momentum. And as a first act of courage, go to the comments and answer this. What is one invisible bar you're facing right now? Be specific. Just by writing it down, you're robbing that fear of its power. Now, it's time to stop being a scientist of fear and become a warrior who uses it. Our first technique is the excitement reframe. The physical signs of fear are nearly identical to excitement. Heart pounds, adrenaline surges, breathing quickens. The only difference is your interpretation. Harvard professor Alison Wood Brooks found that people asked to face a scary task performed better when they said, out loud, "I am excited." Why? Because trying to calm down fights your body's natural state of high arousal. Reframing it as excitement works with that energy. Next time you feel that surge, literally say the words, "I am excited." Tell yourself, this is my body getting ready for peak performance. The next tool fights fear's greatest weapon, hesitation. Mel Robbins created the 5-second rule. The moment you have an instinct to act, You must physically move within 5 seconds, or your brain will kill it. When you have the impulse to speak up, count backward. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And on 1, you open your mouth. Counting backward interrupts the habit of overthinking and pushes you from thinking into doing. Action is the antidote to anxiety. But often, we're frozen because the task seems massive. Start a business is overwhelming. The solution comes from the Japanese philosophy of Kaizen, or continuous improvement. Make the first step so easy, your fear brain doesn't even bother to fire up. Let's go back to public speaking. Day 1. Open a document and write a title. That's the win. Day 2. Write 3 bullet points. Day 3. Read those bullet points out loud to your dog. Success isn't born from one giant leap of courage. It's built from 1,000 tiny steps taken in the face of fear. But sometimes, even these small steps feel impossible. In those moments, you need an anchor to pull you forward. And that anchor is your why. We started with Nietzsche. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Your fear is the how. Your why is the reason you must face it. Before any scary task, get clear on why it matters. Is it freedom? Purpose? Connection? Your why must be more compelling than your fear. When your mind is screaming, retreat, you grab hold of that anchor. Fear is a short-sighted emotion. It only cares about immediate comfort. Your why is your long-term vision. These techniques will help you win battles. But to become truly unstoppable, you have to win the war. That requires a fundamental shift in your identity. It begins with an identity shift. If your identity is, I'm an anxious person, your brain will look for ways to prove that right. You have to start telling yourself a new story. Instead of, I am an anxious person, your new identity is, I am a person who feels anxiety and acts anyway. Instead of, I'm not good at public speaking, your new story is, I am a person who is developing the skill of public speaking. You are separating your identity from the feeling. Anxiety is something you experience. It is not who you are. A powerful technique to help with this is to create your alter ego, a method used by performers from athletes to Beyoncé with Sasha Fierce. An alter ego is a second self that embodies the qualities you need in a high-pressure situation, the version of you that is confident and decisive. Give it a name. How do they stand? What do they believe? When it's time to perform, you're channeling this other persona. This act of psychological separation can feel like putting on a suit of armor. Finally, to truly forge this unstoppable mindset, you must celebrate both failure and your own courage. In the unstoppable mindset, failure is just data. It's proof that you're in the arena. To solidify this, you must celebrate your courage, not just your results. Anytime you face a fear, no matter how small, and act anyway, you celebrate. Sent the scary email? Do a literal, silly victory dance. This has a profound neurological effect. You are physically anchoring the act of being courageous with a feeling of pleasure, actively rewiring your brain's reward circuits to choose the courageous path next time. We started this journey inside a cage with invisible bars. We've looked at those bars, understood their nature, and learned how to walk right through them. We've learned that the cage is an illusion, a biological echo from a past that no longer serves you. We've learned that fearlessness is a myth, and that true courage is choosing to act while your heart is pounding. You now have a method to deconstruct fear, turn its energy into fuel, and forge a new identity, that of a person who is not defined by their fear, but by their response to it. The cage is still there. Your fear won't vanish overnight. But something fundamental has changed. You no longer need a key. You see the bars for what they are, shimmering illusions of thought. You now know you have the power to walk right through them. In the end, the question isn't how to eliminate fear. It's how to live a life so full, so purpose-driven, and so meaningful that fear becomes an irrelevant distraction. The writer Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain." The door is right in front of you. It always has been. Will you open it?